Shemai, hello, I'm Heather Hansen. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this webinar. Many RE or RVE teachers find curriculum planning difficult when the demands to ensure a broad, objective, critical and pluralistic curriculum is needed to meet learners' needs. This webinar aims to show that whilst it's important to consider the breadth of a curriculum, depth of understanding should be the main driver in any curriculum map. This depth of understanding can be achieved through a spiraling curriculum, which equips learners with increased vocabulary, builds knowledge and understanding, and deepens critical thinking through metacognition, evaluation, and synthesis. In this webinar, I intend to present a rationale for designing a spiral curriculum based on the research of Jerome Bruner, and will be given examples drawn from Jigsaw RE's enquiries. I'm going to take you through some reasons why I believe that a spiral curriculum is extremely important in curriculum design. So then, before I start, a little bit about me. I have a passion for education, research-led pedagogy, and my subject specialism is theology and religious studies. In 2005, I became a Fellow of Family Institute, Oxford, demonstrating my commitment to professional learning and participating in CPD for teachers. I was a secondary school teacher for almost 40 years, and for 17 of those years, I was Director of Learning for Theology and Religious Studies. I left the classroom in 2023, but still remain very much involved in education through my current role as Regional Advisor for Wales with Jigsaw Education Group. In addition to this, I trained as an REQM assessor for the Religious Education Council for England and Wales, which demonstrates my commitment to ensuring high-quality teaching in religion and worldviews for England and religion, values and ethics for Wales. I am also Vice Chair of the Swansea SACRA and SAC for RVE. So this webinar intends to explain what is meant by spiral curriculum, what is meant by the forgetting curve, how a spiral curriculum helps to flatten the forgetting curve, and how the Jigsaw RE programme facilitates the design of a spiral curriculum and how progression is evident in a spiral curriculum. So then, what is a spiral curriculum? Well, the concept of a spiral curriculum is widely attributed to the American psychologist and cognitive theorist Jerome Bruner. Bruner's approach involves revisiting fundamental ideas repeatedly throughout the curriculum, each time at a deeper level of complexity, which helps reinforce previous learning and builds upon it. It's a curriculum that is carefully and thoughtfully designed to build progression into learners' experiences. Based on research-led pedagogy, it aligns with growth mindset and facilitates the development of skills, knowledge and understanding, and maturity in critical thinking. A spiral curriculum will ensure that learning is consistently reinforced by including activities that enable learners to revisit their learning regularly. Activities such as retrieval practices consolidate knowledge and understanding, which then become embedded in long-term memory. Frequent exposure to the same concepts helps to combat the forgetting curve. So then, you might be asking yourself, what do we mean by the forgetting curve? The forgetting curve was first described by a German psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus in the late 19th century. The forgetting curve is a concept that in education and psychology that shows how much information we forget over time if we don't try to review or use it. Over time, new concepts are forgotten or lost if a person is not repeatedly exposed to them. When you first learn something like a new fact or a skill, you remember it quite well. However, if you don't review or practice that new information, you start to forget it quickly. In the first few hours or days after learning, a lot of the information may fade from your memory. After the initial drop, the rate of forgetting slows down. You continue to lose some of the information over time, but not as quickly as at the beginning. So combating the forgetting curve in education. To combat the forgetting curve, it's important to review and practice what you've learned regularly. This can help you retain information longer and more effectively. One of the best ways to remember information is to space out your reviews over time. This is what's meant by spaced repetition. Reviewing the material several times over a few days or weeks can help you remember it better in the long term. In summary, the forgetting curve shows that our memory of new information fades over time, but regular review and practice can help us remember it better. A spiral curriculum can significantly help with this. So as I stated earlier, a spiral curriculum is an educational approach where key concepts and skills are revisited and built upon over time with increasing complexity. This approach can help flatten the forgetting curve, meaning it helps learners to retain information better over the long term. In a spiral curriculum, learners revisit important topics multiple times throughout their education. Each time they encounter the topic, they review what they've previously learned and build upon it with more advanced knowledge. As a result, learning is embedded in the long-term memory. So then, repeated exposure to the same concepts helps reinforce the information in learners' memory, making it less likely to be forgotten. Regular repetition is key to combating the rapid forgetting seen on the forgetting curve. Retrieval activities such as quizzes, games, flashcards, concept mapping, cloze activities, cumulative review, peer teaching, and guided questioning, amongst others, can significantly help. Retrieval activities such as the ones mentioned can be found in all Jigsaw RE inquiries. So how does the Jigsaw RE help spiral learning? The Jigsaw RE program of study allows for a curriculum design that facilitates spiral learning, and we can look at that in the next diagram. Through spaced repetition, it enables the forgetting curve to be flattened. It provides retrieval practices to help consolidate learning and embed the learning in the long-term memory. Jigsaw RE program takes a progressive spiral approach through each year and across the year groups. The next 3 slides show an example of a spiral curriculum in long-term planning over 3 terms. Please note that the colours depict revisiting the topic as breadth and depth increases. So then, the next 3 slides are an example of how I would use the inquiries to design a spiral curriculum. You, of course, may choose to do things differently according to your locally agreed syllabus or through having subsidiarity to design according to the RVE guidance in Wales. From the slide below, you can see that in half-term 1, learners are introduced to the concept of special people across a range of worldviews to incorporate breadth into the curriculum. This is then built upon in Autumn 2 by looking in depth at Christianity as the main tradition, and in particular the person of Jesus as the incarnation of God. The depth of study increases throughout the year groups, horizontally, as well as building on the previous half-term's learning. The previous worldviews are reintroduced in the first half of the spring term, which build on the initial introductions in the autumn term. In this example, we can see Sanatana Dharma, or Hinduism, Christianity, and Judaism. This depth of understanding continues to build in the first half of the summer term with regard to religion and worldviews, and a second non-religious philosophical worldview is introduced, ethical veganism. In the second half of the summer term, early learning continues to be consolidated. So now I'd like to talk about progression in a spiral curriculum. The next 2 slides will aim to show examples of progression within the Autumn 2 Christianity inquiries. Initially, I'll refer to progression which is relevant to England, and then how these same Christianity inquiries facilitate progression steps 1, 2, and 3 within 3 of the humanities, AOLE, statements of what matters in religion, values and ethics, or RVE, which is relevant to Wales. So if we look at the inquiries, we can see that the depth of understanding increases throughout the year groups, moving from a personal understanding on a basic level through some quite complex questioning, which involves higher order critical thinking. All the time, learners are building metacognition and developing their critical thinking about the festival of Christmas. At the same time, we can see in the language of the descriptors how personal knowledge and understanding develops along with breadth and depth of substantive knowledge and understanding and critical thinking. This is what a spiral curriculum aims to achieve through revisiting concepts and building breadth and depth into the curriculum design. Similarly, this can be applied to the descriptors for learning in progression steps 1 to 3 associated with the statements of what matters in the humanities AOLE of the curriculum for Wales. I've aimed to demonstrate here an example of how the mandatory statements of what matters underpin the inquiries and show through progression through a spiral curriculum which is carefully planned. So we can also see progression built into an inquiry, for example with vocabulary building and concept building. Let's take one inquiry within Christianity. This inquiry will have 6 pieces or lessons where learners are increasingly exposed to a rich diet of subject-specific vocabulary which builds throughout the 6 pieces. Additionally, we can see the depth in concept building. Learners' understanding of God as the creator of creation deepens and extends to include a personal response to that concept. This involves the response to caring for creation and one another through gaining an understanding of agapeic or self-sacrificial love. So, a spiral curriculum will allow learners to develop at their own pace. It will give learners multiple opportunities to fully grasp the same concept. By revisiting concepts and deepening understanding, a spiral curriculum enables confidence to be built and a depth of understanding to be achieved. This is favoured over having a superficial grasp of a wide range of topics. In turn, this depth facilitates critical thinking and the ability to thoroughly explore ideas. In this case then, learners are far more likely to engage with learning and make progress. So in any spiral curriculum, scaffolding is very important. As well as scaffolding, it's important to ensure that gaps in knowledge and understanding can be filled by revisiting prior learning. Cognitive overload needs to be guarded against, and the learning must be manageable. So Jigsaw RE's lesson structure lends itself to this approach. So starting with the charter ensures a safe and respectful learning environment. Next, learners are able to build on previous learning through the Connect Our Learning activity. Learners revisit or reactivate prior learning or assess prior knowledge, which follows current best practice pedagogy. The next part of the lesson is called Open My Mind, and this activity facilitates the consideration of the learning intentions for the lesson or piece. This part will often include a stimulus such as a photograph or an artifact to hook the children into the learning. Then we have Tell Me or Show Me, and this involves the teaching of new information with lots of support for teacher subject knowledge with interactive and dialogic teaching. Then there's pause time given to reflect on the learning so far, all with the help, of course, of our gorgeous OWL crew. Next comes the constructivist part of the lesson called Let Me Learn. This part will be activity-led and interactive. Higher order thinking and questioning will be developed here. Finally, the last part of the lesson is called Help Me Reflect, and it's a time for individual reflection and self-assessment of learning. All good for embedding metacognitive strategies. Throughout the lesson, learning is building and consolidating through this approach. So then, hopefully you can see that a spiral curriculum facilitates breadth and depth. Through a spiral curriculum which incorporates the aforementioned practices and encourages spaced repetition strategies, learners will build a depth of understanding of concepts that they've been introduced to initially at a basic level. As the curriculum spirals, these concepts are revisited with increasing complexity, broadening knowledge and understanding, whilst allowing learners to build on their prior knowledge and deepen their understanding. The Jigsaw RE programme ensures that common concepts are studied across worldviews. This approach strengthens metacognition. Revisiting concepts in a variety of contexts helps learners to see the broader application and relevance of what they're studying. A spiral curriculum fosters an integrated approach to learning, which allows for connections to be made with other topics, encouraging both synopticity and a holistic approach. For example, considering what constitutes leading a good life across several worldviews throughout the school year could not only serve to deepen knowledge and understanding, providing high-quality RE, religion and worldviews, RVE, but help to foster respect for different worldviews, and this could link to whole school ethos also. Furthermore, a spiral curriculum can help to strengthen independent learning. The learner can be helped to gain insight into ways in which knowledge, understanding, and critical thinking develop. They are then learning to learn. In summary then, a spiral curriculum helps to flatten the forgetting curve so that important concepts become embedded in long-term memory. In addition, it strengthens metacognition and facilitates a holistic approach to education. Furthermore, it ensures breadth and depth of coverage, as well as fine-tuning critical thinking. Finally, it ensures that progression in learning happens and gives learners, through research-led pedagogy, the opportunity to reflect on how they learn, inculcating lifelong skills of independent learning. Now, just to finish, I'd like to say diolch yn fawr am wrando. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you found the webinar helpful, and please could you take a couple of minutes to fill in the survey using the QR code on the last slide. Hwyl fawr.